Hi, welcome to a new video. Today I'll be showing you how to make t-shirt yarn like this from a t-shirt. So this t-shirt I didn't wash correctly, so now it's kind of pink, so I'm not wearing it anymore. So I figured this was the perfect t-shirt to show you how to make t-shirt yarn. In later videos and blog posts I'll show you how to use this t-shirt yarn to make little baskets like this one or like this one. First thing we need to do is we need to cut this t-shirt into kind of like a tubular rectangle. So we need to cut the top part off. I'm gonna make sure there's a line where you need to cut the top part off. So we start with that. So make your t-shirt lay flat, and then with some scissors, these are fabric scissors, or with a rotary cutter, you can cut a line here through both layers of the t-shirt, and that leaves you with just the bottom part of the t-shirt. So you can see that now we have some kind of tube that we can use. So here you can see I didn't really do a straight line, so you can just cut it so that it looks a bit more neat. And it doesn't have to look perfect or anything, as long as it looks kind of like a tube, it's fine. The next thing we do is we cut off this lower part. So you can see that this lower part has some stitching on it, and that's a bit more thick than the rest, so we just cut off the stitching. So make sure that the bottom is nice and aligned so that you can easily cut off the stitches of both the back and the front. This will all be a bit more work if you don't have a rotary cutter, but it's all, yeah, with a rotary cutter it's really easy, but you can also, of course, cut everything with fabric scissors. So this leaves us with just this circle of this tube of fabric. I'm just going to cut off the tags that we still had in here. And now we can start cutting it to make the actual fabric. So what I do is I kind of rotate the tube so that the stitching is in the middle, and it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle. I don't want the stitching to be on the sides. After that, again, I just kind of align the top and the bottom. Try to get any wrinkles out. And that's it. I then fold one part to a bit more to the center. I don't want to fold it all the way to the center, but I just want there to be, I want there to be maybe like 7 centimeters or 3-inch here. So I fold it so that it looks like this. And after I've done that, I can start cutting it into strips. But because we don't want separate strips, but we want it to be one long strip, we don't cut all the way. So what we do is we cut strips like this, but we don't cut them all the way, but we cut them until about here. So until about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch from the top. And the thickness of the strips will give you the thickness of your t-shirt yarn. So if you do really thick strips, then you'll get thicker t-shirt yarn. If you do thin strips, then you'll get thinner t-shirt yarn. So with the t-shirt yarn that I have here, it's about this thickness. So it's not too big, and you can see this is about maybe 1 centimeter thickness. So that's what I'm going to do here. But if you want, you can do thicker strips. I wouldn't go much thinner because you also don't want anything to break. So I'll do about 1 centimeter, maybe a bit more. I'll start on this side. I see that here I have a bit of fabric sticking out, so I'm just cutting that off to give me more of an even square, well, not square, rectangular piece to start with. So now I can start the cutting. So I'll cut strips, but I do not cut this part. So I start about here. And I cut my strips. So your first strip won't be the same thickness everywhere, and that's because you know, you might not have had a perfect rectangle to start with, but the strips after that, they will look more even. You can see that if you use a rotary cutter, you might have to go through one part several times just to make sure that it is cut properly, because we are going through multiple layers of fabric. If you don't want to go through multiple layers of fabric, you just don't fold this part in, but that means that you'll have to cut for longer. So what I have now is this kind of weird looking thing. I have one normal piece and then all of these strips on this side and these strips on this side. But now I want to make it into one giant strip. So what I need to do is I need to cut the strips kind of at an angle. So this first strip has to be cut so that it attaches to the second strip here. So let me see if I can show you like this. I cut it diagonally. So this strip goes to this part. The second strip goes to this third one. This third strip goes to this fourth one. So I cut it diagonally. I start with the first. Because there's no strip here, I just start cutting from the side, and I cut to this. So what I have now is I have the start of my yarn. Now for the second, I go from here to here. Just in a straight line. For the third, the same. And I just keep doing this for all of the strips. As you can see, I'm almost finished cutting. My phone just went out because it was out of memory, but I'm back. And once you've finished cutting, you will arrive at a point where it looks like this. So I have 2 strands here and only 1 strand at the top. And in this case, we just cut it diagonally like this, and then this will be the end strand. So that's it. Now we have a really long piece of yarn that we made. And let me see, this is the end. And what I like to do to get something like this, as you can see here, we don't have a flat part, but it's more rounded, and I prefer that to crochet with. So what we need to do is just pull on it. So you can see here, this is flat, but if you pull on it, it will become round, and it will also become a bit lengthier. So that is what we need to do for this whole pile. What I also like to do is I like to just make it into a ball of yarn. So I just kind of scrunch it together at the start, and then I try to pull it and then roll it into a little ball. Again, pull it and roll it into a ball. And at the start, rolling into a ball is a bit difficult because the ball is still very small. But as soon as you really have like a bit bigger ball to work with, then you can do this more easily. So I'm just gonna do this for the entire ball of yarn. So you can see I just roll it a little bit, and then as soon as I get to the flat part again, I just tug it, and it will turn into a bit more rounded yarn. If you want, you can also choose to first like pull the whole thing, and then after that's finished, you can roll it into a ball of yarn. That's just a personal preference. So what can happen if you cut it a bit too thin it can happen that two parts just kind of break. So what I like to do is just knot them together again, and then as I'm doing my crochet, I'll make sure that this part is somewhere where you won't notice it too much. So I'll make sure it's somewhere like right in the middle of a stitch, or maybe at the back side. I'll just try to hide it a little bit. But this is why I said at the start not to make your strips too thin. Clearly I didn't listen to myself. But yeah, you can just knot them together, and then yeah, next time don't tug as hard. Because that's what made it break in my case. Yeah, you can also see that here I just cut, like my strip of yarn was just way too thin, so this is also gonna break. And also here I just, yeah, I just try to put it back together again, and next time I'll try to remember to make my strips a bit thicker, and I think especially at the ends, you really have to make sure that you don't get parts that are way too thin, because it's easier if they are too thick, because then you can just cut a strip of the side if they're really thick, but if they're too thin they're gonna break. So that is it for this tutorial. Now I'm left with a really pretty ball of yarn. I think start to finish this took me less than an hour, and a lot of it can be done while just watching some TV, putting on an audiobook, anything like that. So this is a really fun thing to do if you have leftover t-shirts. The bigger the t-shirt, the more yarn you get out of them, but it's also fun if you have, for example, two t-shirts that have a similar color, you can use them together in a basket, or you can make little matching baskets, whatever you want. So that's what I'm gonna do. If you think this is an interesting tutorial, give me a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel, and I would hope to see you in the next video, because I'm gonna make a video where I'm actually using these balls of yarn, so that will be ultimate recycling, to use to have a t-shirt and then make them into pretty baskets. So hope to see you next time. Bye!